Okay, so we just got done watching your video of you teaching. What was your learning goal for the lesson?
I wanted the kids to be able to count change correctly and be able to add the coins together.
Okay, and how would you know if that learning goal has been met?
That they could demonstrate their ability to do the adding of the coins and check with a partner to see if they had it correct.
Okay, and on a scale from 1 to 10, how do you think, with 10 being the best, how do you think the lesson went?
I thought it went fairly well. I would say maybe about a 6 or a 7.
Okay, and what do you think went well?
I thought it worked well to have the kids partner with each other to work on adding their coins. We did a good job of like going over the information beforehand so they know how to count it, and then they had some opportunities for peer checking so that they could confirm that they did their adding correctly.
Yeah, I like how you did the whole group instruction and then you did the modeling yourself. You did a good job with the transitions and the directions on that, and you used helpers some. And then you paired them up and had them work together and then kind of monitored that as it went. And then at the end, you kind of had a review session for that. So I think all those things were good teaching strategies that we were able to use. What could you do to improve this lesson from a 6 or a 7 up to maybe closer to a 10?
I think it would have been better if I gave the children more chances to add different coins so that they would have more than one practice opportunity. I also think there was a lot of time taken up with handing out these supplies, so I think I'd like to find ways to maximize the use of time in the classroom so they could have better opportunities to get more practice in.
And what things could you change to give them more practice opportunities and allow for quicker transitions?
I think if I had them keep more supplies in their desk, it might be a better use of that. So they had whiteboards and whiteboard markers and erasers in their desk. We could get started much sooner, and maybe having different values and different coin bags so that they could rotate through various stations might be giving them more opportunities to check and demonstrate their understanding.
Okay, so you talked about more practice opportunity. You talked about quicker transitions. Would those be things that you'd want to have be part of your goal?
I think my main goal would be to want to have more practice opportunities. I think maybe having easier access to resources would be a side goal.
And how could you measure growth of practice opportunity and how that actually impacts their learning?
I think measuring the growth, just we would do this again to have chances to use our time, the same amount of time, but to get 2 or 3 more opportunities to practice adding the coins together would be a better thing. So just kind of monitor how much time it takes the next time we practice the coins.
And how do you know, or what did you use in the lesson you just taught to measure whether or not they were reaching your learning goal of being able to count change correctly?
They practiced it with a partner. They were to check with their partner to make sure they're correct, and then we went over it again as a class. I think if I did it again, I might try to have the kids check with another peer group before going over it as a class so they could self check with another partner, and also if they did not match, they could try to rework the problem.
Okay. And if you were able to get them more practice opportunities, would that be important for you?
Definitely, because then I think it gives them a greater confidence in being able to add the coins. And I think the more practice they have, the more likely they are to remember the information.
Okay. You already talked a little bit about teaching strategies that you could use to help you reach that goal. Is there anything in addition to what you've already discussed that you think would be helpful?
I liked the use of the peer learning. I think maybe having another way for kids to check with me in advance of the whole group practice so that they could find out whether their answer was correct. And then if they were not correct, they could rework the problem. And then if they were correct, maybe having an alternative problem that they could test their understanding on if they did master the concept the first time.
I like that idea too because watching through the video, you could see that some students got done earlier than other students and waited for next instruction where they could have been getting more practice opportunities in that spot as well. Okay, so you talked about your learning goal being that you wanted students be able to learn to count change correctly. And how did that go in this lesson?
I thought it went well. They had a chance to practice and they could check with their peers.
Now, what I want to do is set up a peers goal. And earlier you talked about increasing their practice opportunities. Peers goal stands for powerful, easy, emotionally compelling, reachable, and student focused. So powerful means it's going to make a big difference in your students' lives. Easy means it's going to be simple, easy to understand, easy to implement. Emotionally compelling means it's going to matter a lot to you. Reachable means that you can have measurable outcome and strategy. So we want to be able to make sure that we can measure whether or not it was successful. And we want to make sure that it addresses student achievement, behavior, and attitude outcome. So when you're talking about more practice opportunities, I think that kind of falls in line with the using more formative assessment. And this doesn't have to be necessarily at something that is graded, but it could be graded at times. And what are some goals you have for increasing their practice opportunities?
Maybe give them a practice worksheet to test their understanding.
Okay, good. I think that would be a good thing. And then that way they could check to see how well they're doing, and it would give you a chance to check to see how well they're doing as well. So that'd give you a good understanding of whether or not they were actually meeting their learning goal. So I think that would be good. I think, as you said earlier, I think you could increase the amount of practice time that they had in class as well. So I think by increasing the amount of practice opportunities they had in class and then having a worksheet or something to check in so you could tell how they were doing along the process rather than waiting till the end to know if they understood it. I think that would be really helpful as well. I think that's kind of a good start for the learning goals. How much more practice opportunity would you like them to get in class?
At least 50% more.
Okay. And then for your assessment outside of class, what would be one way that you could do that?
Maybe an assignment that they could take home. See if they can do it outside of class.
Okay, good. So I have a list of checklists here for formative assessment that I would like to show you. So you want to make sure that the assessment clearly tells students how well they are performing, tells the teacher how well they're performing. So we're going to get feedback from this. We want to make sure it's easy to use, especially if it's something they're doing outside of class. We want to make sure that the directions are clear and they understand what they're supposed to be doing. And we want to make it something that we're not wasting a whole lot of extra class time in order to implement. So here's a checklist of things that would make sure that's quality. And then we can see if this is working effectively. So we want to make sure all students are responding. So we want to get information from all the students. We want to have the assessments repeat. So it might not be a one-time deal, but you might come back in future days and have them continue to practice counting change. And we want to make sure that you're giving them feedback and they're receiving feedback as well. So not only feedback from you, but they can get feedback from themselves. So does this checklist that I'm showing you look reasonable for something that would make sure that your assessments are high quality?
Yeah.
And this is something that would be easy to implement in your class?
Definitely.
Okay. So let's go back through. You said you wanted to increase student opportunities by 50% in class, and you wanted to provide an assignment for outside of class for them to practice on, in which you could get feedback from them and you could provide feedback to them. So by increasing their learning opportunities by 50% in class, or their practice opportunities by 50% in class, and having a formative assessment that they are going to work on either at the end of class or at home, would that be a good peers goal for you moving ahead?
I think so.
Okay, let's go through this list again. Would this make a difference in your child's lives?
Yes, they could add their coins, and that would be helpful for them.
Good. Is this goal going to be easy for you to understand and easy to implement?
Yes.
Is this something that appeals to you?
Yes.
Emotionally compelling? Is this something that you can measure the outcome of the strategy?
I think so.
And then once again, is this student focused and will help with student achievement?
Yes.
Okay. So I think we can kind of move ahead with the peers goal of increasing practice opportunities by 50% in class, as well as having assessments either toward the end of class or at home, and then continue checking their progress throughout the upcoming weeks. And I think when would you have time to start implementing these strategies? or these goals?
I think we could start tomorrow.
Okay. And when would be a good time to meet back up to see how these strategies are going?
Should we check in a week, or do we need more time?
I think a week would be good. We could check in and see how it's going. If you want to check in with me beforehand, that's fine too. But we can check back in a week and see how they're moving ahead and kind of check the student progress and see how that's going. All right. Is there any other questions that you have of me? For
I
me?
don't think so. This has been helpful.
Is there anything else I can do to help you?
Not right now.
Okay. Well, let me know if you have any questions, and I will check back with you in a week and see how your new strategy is going.
Sounds great. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.